So, here we are again. A little bit of a catch up. It's been a funny few months, hasn't it? I think everyone's had a bit of a shock. There's a lot going on in the world. A lot of questions to be asked. One question I would like asking is, historically, the USA have been adverse to potential communist nations. However, this week they voted with said communist nations, which was a very strange one, considering they've been trying to get away from that particular mentality, or they've always been anti it. So that was a bit of a shock. And then the other thing that's quite amusing, albeit clever, is how now they're calling in their debt to Ukraine. Trump cites it at 500 billion, they cite it at 100 billion. But in order for that money to be paid back, they want access granted to Ukraine's mineral reserves. All the while, at the same time, Putin has approached the US apparently and said, well, you can have a crack at our reserves if you want, if that makes it easier. So here we have it. The end game, eh? Was it all about precious minerals the whole time? And that's what has now come to pass. And now that it's just a case of pimping in minerals to see who the USA sides with. And that's what it all comes down to in the end, doesn't it? It's all about the money. It's got nothing to do with sovereign states. It's got nothing to do with people's rights to land, people's rights to nationality. It all comes to what's buried in the ground. You set them up, we'll knock them down. And sadly, the case is war is good for business. Is that not always been the case? Such is life. There's also been a drop in Tesla sales in Europe, even though the electric car sales have gone up in Europe. Tesla aren't part of that increase. Wonder why. I mean, let's be honest, it ain't going to bother Musk, is it? He'll be last man standing at some point, when all of us nobodies have been taken out. But it's just who he's going to be standing alongside, isn't it? Oh, people just don't read the roads, do they? Oh dear. It appears spring has sprung. Gone are the cold frosty mornings, replaced by sunshine, which is nice. Makes you want to embrace the day. See as well, oddly, just gone past the BP station. See, they've reeled back their green, striving for green renewable energy. They've gone back to fossil fuels. America have gone back to using coal. And Enron have released an egg that's got all the power of a nuclear reactor, which apparently can power a house for 10 years, which I think is good news. I'd have an egg, for sure. I wonder if you get to a point where you buy an egg and you just charge your car with it. That'd be decent, wouldn't it? I mean, how that egg works, I don't know, but it's mind-blowing. Traffic is unusually light this morning, which is extremely refreshing. Love it. Take that all day. Even the motorways are playing ball. Going back to the electric car point as well, I see Bring Your Own Dreams, or was it Build Your Dreams, BYD, is now one of the biggest electric retailers. They're Chinese. Nothing's wrong with that. I mean, some of the Chinese stuff's great, isn't it? I love the look of their cars. They've got that car that can just turn on the spot, haven't they? I think that's BYD as well. The four wheels spin a certain way, so it can just turn itself round. It's very cool. See what I did see the other day as well, which I think is quite rare. MG have made it's like a sports car, but it's electric. That looks proper swish. I didn't know what it was when I saw it. It looked great. I don't know if someone knows what that's called, let me know. But I think it's probably quite expensive. I don't think it's going to be MG3 kind of price. I think it should be a little bit more than that. But I thought it was very cool. Bit of a refreshing car design, you know. It looked like the sort of thing you put on your wall. You know, like when back in the day when you used to put a Lamborghini Countach on your wall, or a Ferrari Testarossa. Now the strange thing about cars like that is they're actually quite slow. Like I think most modern hatchbacks could probably beat a Ferrari Testarossa down the road quite easily. Well, a hot hatch anyway. I mean, I'm sure a Golf R would probably rinse a Testarossa. Whether it'd be a Countach, I don't know, but I'd love to see it. To a book the other day, and I finally found out what quantitative easing is. Well, I knew what it was, but I just knew how. I finally found out how ridiculous it is. I mean, we all had a bit of an inclination, but all it is made up money. And the problem with that is it pumps inflation up. So the more quantitative easing a government does, it makes the value of the currency drop. So when you've got inflation going up and the value of the currency dropping, you're getting the shit. I also heard the other day, or I looked it up in fact, and I think this is right. I think it's something like the United States has got like a £318 trillion debt, and it's only bringing in for its taxpayers 2.9 trillion per annum. UK's the same. The UK owes like $30 trillion or £30 trillion, and it only brings in like hardly anything. It brings nowhere in, way near enough to ever bring that deficit down. So how do you bring that deficit down? Surely it's absolutely impossible to clear national debt at any point. Even if you raise taxes against us, it ain't going to make nothing. I did a post a little while back where I was like, why doesn't everyone just give a tenner and that would knock it out? And everyone's like, no, it wouldn't work. And I can see why now. We'll get nowhere bloody near it. It's absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. £300 trillion. Like, bear in mind, like Bezos and Musk, they're worth like 100 billion. 300 trillion pounds. It's just, at that point, it doesn't matter what it is, does it? It's just numbers on the screen. Everyone's just kicking money around. But surely if the value keeps eroding, there's only so much you can dig out of the ground to replenish the cash flow into the system. Is there not a worry that at some point cash flow just completely dries up? Because once you've exhausted all your minerals and your commodities, there's no more money to be pumped into the system, is there? So how do you pay that debt back? It's just mind-boggling. I really don't get it. Well, I'm not supposed to get it, am I? I mean, how big does your head have to be, or your mind, to work that out? I mean, I ain't got a bloody clue. It's just a fascinating subject. I think there's a lot to be said for just sort of trying to avoid getting hooked into the grid. It's too late for me now, but like, you know, some people, or I think what they should do is educate people at school. Like, I'm finding out most of my financial knowledge now at, like, you know, in my middle age. It's crazy. You don't get told any of this at school. I read a really good book called How to Own the World, and in that, the whole point of that book is just to like help people with financial education. It's really worth the read. I think it's Andrew Craig, and it explains so much. And his like ethos is very much, you know, when a kid hits senior score, they should be told, right? You should immediately go, right, so a credit card, this is what it does. A loan, unsecured, secured, this is what it does. Shares, this is what they do. Because everyone sees shares and stocks as like, oh my god, it's crazy. But to be honest, if you're investing 50 quid a month or something, or more than that, you know, everyone goes, oh, I need a financial advisor to do that. Oh my god. But just invest, you know, like what you follow, what you're passionate about. You know, if you want to, you know, go and invest in a musical company, do it. You know, as long as you don't chuck all your eggs in one basket, you can do things like this. You know, logic says that if you go and buy commodities, you go and buy some coffee, go and buy some cotton, go and buy some chocolate, liquid gas, crude, at some point one of them is going to outstrip the other, you know, because people always want things. It's like precious metals, you know, you go and buy a little share in gold or a little share in silver, something like that. You know, I'm not saying commit everything, but you could, you know, there's no harm in doing that. You know, what are really the ultimate loss is going to be on a share in gold? I mean, cash is king, right? As soon as stock markets start to go a bit weird, everyone starts investing in gold again, and then when the stock market stabilise, they start investing in stocks again. So if you've got a little dabble in both, you know, you could probably be kind of quite confident if you play the long game and leave that for 15-20 years, you're probably going to end up doing all right at the end, you know, as long as you don't just take all of your savings and go, oh, let's chuck it on BP, you know. And that's the thing, you know, there are, you know, I'm no financial advisor, so this is just like, you know, observations and surmising, but it's like, you know, the chances are if you go and put some money in BP, are they likely to get out of business? Probably not. You put some money in Apple, are they likely to get out of business? Probably not. Alphabet, unlikely. Amazon, unlikely. You know, they are expensive stocks, obviously, for that very reason. The only one that blows my mind all the time, and it's just like, all over the shop is Nvidia. Like that is like really expensive, but what I've seen from that just flips up and down. So you know, I don't think that's for the faint-hearted. But you know, in this book it tells you can invest in funds, right? So you can go onto like Trading 212 or eToro. You don't have to, you know, you could take, I don't know, 100 quid and invest it in a fund that's obviously diversified across the whole sector. So, you know, you might get a BlackRock fund or something like that that has got a share in Brazil stock market, a share in the FTSE, a share in the Dow, stuff like that. And you know, you put your money in and they'll split it for you, and then you can just leave it, you know, let them do their thing. You know, eToro, Trading 212, they've all got these sorts of vehicles. You know, they've got cash ISAs, stocks and shares ISAs. It's like from a family point of view, like I'm a father, and the first thing, one good thing I've done, right, I've made stupid financial decisions, and I'll be the first to hold my hands up for that. You know, I've bought stupid things when I didn't need to. You know, I've always financed cars when I maybe should have pulled my neck in a little bit. But one thing I did do, which was good, and I'm proud of myself for doing it, you got to give yourself a tap on the back for the little wins, haven't you? Is what I did do for both of my children. As soon as they were born, I set up a stocks and shares ISA, obviously to be managed by a, you know, a locked fund, as it were. I think I used Shepherd's Friendly in the end. I think that's who I went with. And ever since they've been born, I've been putting like £30 a week into each of their stocks and shares ISAs that are held with Shepherd's Friendly. So, you know, and they're locked as well. I can't get access to it. I can't pull the money out of that. They are locked. They're in their names. You know, I think the earliest they can even get access to it, if I was to tell them they're there, is 11 years old. But I'm obviously not going to tell them they're there. And then when it comes to 18, because it goes up incrementally every year, not much. You know, I think I started off paying like, say, 20 quid or something. Now I pay like maybe 42. But then one of my children's older, you know, so it's over time, it's built up. But then when they hit 18, 19, or, you know, when they go, oh, you know, I'm looking at my first house, or I want to learn to drive or something, like, I won't tell them they're there. And then I'll go, oh, do you? And then as long as there's a genuine reason, I'll then pull it, you know, I'll look at it, see what the balances are, and then they can have access to it. But it's the best I've ever done. And it's the first thing that you might go, oh, actually, if you're struggling financially a bit, you pull the money out of that, and you pull, like, you stop paying into it. But the thing is, you're better off doing a bit of good with it, you know. And the more I leave my money going in there, and I'm not spending it, it's going to them, I think it's doing some good, you know. And that's my kind of whole thing. I think the clutch is going in my car. When I pull the clutch up, it judders. Bad times. I really don't want to have to pay for clutch to be repaired. It's going to suck. Anyway, it was fantastic to catch up again. Speak to you all soon. Later.